I wouldn't, I think there are various aspects to that. It's a great question. I think when we look at this goes back to what was said, is that the person who's actually consuming the content in the STM sphere is not just the scientist or not just the reader. That person is also using Twitter and Facebook and all these other things. They're just not using it for STM work. They're not using it for their science and their research. They're using, we're creating all these new avenues. We've created this wonderful new researcher utility, which we're calling ACS ChemWorks. But changing the sort of the user behavior, it takes a little bit longer because scientists have their own way of doing it, and it's frankly just email is working well for them. So email and downloading, but they are using these other things. They use Facebook as much as anyone else. They just don't use it in their personal lives. They don't use it so much in their scientific realms.
But
Yeah.
you're also finding out the devices that people are accessing the content on, and more they're going to smaller and smaller devices. They're not downloading things on their PCs. It's that publishers have to be able to deliver the content to the devices being used. I think that's part of what's driving some of our strategic decisions.
Some of that content, varies. Like if it's news, they want to see it on their phone, typically. I mean, and you have to do readership surveys. And I don't know how many of you know the company Redex. I mean, it's just one of those companies that, in the trade side anyway, you use. I mean, we rewrote their questionnaire for them because they gave me, I said, I want to know what these subscribers, how they're reading, how they're accessing our content, and just what they're doing in their own lives. Just so it helps us inform what we're doing. And they were still like the straight ahead print, well, how many copies of the print magazine did you get? And I said, well, that's not really helpful to me. Like I want to know how many magazines they accessed online in our digital, what I call the digital online edition versus the app that they downloaded versus the print. And there's crossover. I mean, some people are getting the print and they're reading it when they go to a trade show on the plane, but other times they're looking at it at home on their iPad. I mean, it's all over the place. So it's really then deciding, and the different demographics. So we have architects reading one of our magazines, and architects, I know from one of my advertisers who just happened to tell me this, a very sophisticated architectural glass supplier, he said, 70% of architects still source online and do everything online. I mean, that's how they're buying, what they're looking for product. Well, that was really important for me to know, because then when I'm marketing for architect subscribers, I'm going to be pointing them to our website. That's what they're looking for, something very specific. They're looking for the specifications or whatever they're looking for. So you really have to slice it. All this niche marketing that we're all being tracked, right? I mean, Axiom Corporation has 200,000 data points on every single one of us sitting in this room. They know how we're shopping, what we're doing. Well, the impetus or the pressure is on us to know that kind of level of detail about our customers who are subscribers. It's a lot harder to get it when you're not picking up charge card information from, Mr. Glass company down the street. I mean, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think of it necessarily as a pitfall either, or as a challenge. I think part of the failure has been from us, honestly, from STM publishers. We just haven't figured out how best to create some new types of products, and that's what keeps me excited, and that's what keeps me working in this area. And I think the next 5 years, especially in the STM field, the big push will be to come up with products that deal with data, not your journal articles, but there's vast amounts of data. So, for example, the BRAIN initiative that President Obama has been talking about, there will be billions of dollars of investment, there will be research articles, but how can publishers get into that data area and provide that data to scientists, to other stakeholders, to healthcare providers? So I don't think we figured it out yet, but I think that's where the next big thing is in STM publishing.
And I think that was a great segue into our next question. So thank you for picking the first talked, the question I had was what issues worry you the most, and Nicole suggested that we turn it around and make this a little bit more positive. So, yeah, so you really, I mean, I think that was a really good way to start this discussion. So does anybody else want to weigh in on what's exciting you right now and worrying you at the same time?
I'll take a stab from my perspective. Most exciting for me, I think, is my belief that consumers are willing to pay for products that we thought a decade ago were had to be free. I mean, there was a huge thread about content needing to be free, and people would never pay for this and that. And I think Steve Jobs really flipped that thing on its head, and that's really the legacy that I look at for Steve Jobs. Even though he designs great products, the iTunes Store, the App Store, has really opened people's willingness to pay for music, apps. That's I don't know, $5 billion a year for them. It's crazy, and so I think the ground conditions have changed. There's been a fragmentation and proliferation of more media, so there's with no extended bandwidth from anybody, and so people are looking for utility and they're looking for things that'll save time, and they're willing to pay. And so that excites me because I feel like the ad model is a challenged one for lots of reasons. And I've got LinkedIn now getting into our space, and I don't know how I compete with that when they know exactly who I am, and they can do, and they've got 200 million registered accounts, and it's a tough one when you go to Mercedes with head on hand. So that's the most exciting thing for me. What keeps me up is simply the fact that we all want to be platform agnostic and have platform ubiquity, but the reality is that even us don't have budgets to have a staff to produce for every screen size, and we can't keep up with the proliferation. That's what makes responsive design so theoretically attractive, although it's not quite there. So.
Even if you did have the staff to do the responsive design on any device, what about licensing issues? Do you ever run into problems with content licensing? Do you have to make sure that your content developers and producers are okay with you putting it everywhere? Any of you?
There have been some issues, in particular with, which I think we're kind of there with Getty and Reuters and AP, issues going from the magazine to the web and then, of course, to mobile. For the most part, we do some broad licensing across the board now for everything we get, and that's been in place for a while. So we have those digital rights for whatever platform we publish to. So not huge, but there are other platforms like Flipboard, for example, or other partnerships with Yahoo, for example, and push stuff out to them. That gets a little more complicated with syndication rights, and those are not our owned and operated URLs. But for the most part, we get blanket rights on everything we do at this point.
And when did that start? Has that been going on more recently or for a long time?
For a while. Since I've been there. Yeah, I think we've redrafted our agreements for the content, and of course we own everything the staff produces, but we do have freelance work, and those have evolved since I've been there, and we've added some additional rights to syndicate, to publish on multiple platforms.
Same answer on that. We have a blank agreement. We basically can publish on the moon if we want to. It's so broad. The things that excite me and keep me up at night are frequently one and the same. Meaning the things that worry me too. We now have established the great, I think, this platform and this brand in our small market, which people trust and readers trust and advertisers trust, and it's working very well in the magazine, and it's created opportunities now to expand that and to use it across multiple platforms and events and things like that. And we're now getting into new things with technology, and we're looking at daily publishing and all sorts of things. And that's relatively easy to do, but it's also relatively easy for others to do. And there's one example in Arlington where we published Arlington Magazine a year ago. A former 27-year-old television news producer decided to start something called Arl Now. And Arl Now is not particularly attractive. It is a daily news briefing He was out there himself for a long time, just reporting 6, 7 stories a day, talk about little editing. They got no editing. But he's got over now 1 million, and this is on just in Arlington, 1 million page views a month. And is starting to attract some serious advertising. And guess where he started next? Bethesda. And it's just, early stages, but, we've been working 3 years, 2 years that Emma's been there to get, 3,000 Facebook followers, and we've done that, and he's at like 2,800 after less than a year. And so, there's all these opportunities for us to also give other people opportunities. Well, we have a significant advantage in that we have this brand and we have these relationships and we have 4 account executives, but that doesn't mean there aren't others who are going to be nipping at our heels.
So would you ever consider trying to acquire him as a sub in your magazine?
No comment.
Yeah, I would say that what's interesting to me with the explosion of the internet and anybody can come and do anything, which is all very exciting. People are also, I think, there's a segment anyway, who are looking to say, to go back to what your idea is, it's coming up with the content. The core principles of publishing, of providing really good information and knowing your customers and knowing what they want to read, you have to stay ahead of that. You have to stay in that in order to be successful. And, people are like, there's so much stuff out there. I mean, we were publishing newsletters, and my editors kept saying to me, Nicole, like, we don't want to just pick up everything that's out there, because there was this whole time where everybody, you just pick up everything in there, you slap it all in. And they said, what our industry, what our customers are looking for, what our subscribers are looking for is curated news. And that seems so old-fashioned. We're not a scientific journal or anything like that, but, these guys are busy trying to run companies, our readers, guys and women. And so we're telling them, this is the stuff that's important. And, a lot of people do still want to know what the professionals say. So you're going to get a lot of, like, freeloaders and copycats and all these people, and they're going to be successful. But you want to say, hey, good for you, like, that's one way of doing the business. And they may take a piece of your pie, but then you just have to build some cookies, make some cookies, or do something different. And I'm a big believer in, like, you have to try, if you can. I was just having a discussion today with my production director and the designer about this ubiquity thing with GTXL. And I said, I need some kind of like PR thing to come to our trade show with. We don't have time to do something, and I'm saying, how about we take our show catalog, which we make money on, and we do this ubiquitous web in-page thing that they're coming out with, this GTXL, whatever their name is. And, and what that does is when you're swiping in any device, you're going from a directory page and you swipe and you go right into the advertiser's website. So they're getting the hits, they're getting direct access, and I thought, let's just give it a try. It's not that expensive, but it's the pop for me. You have to show that you're always trying something new. You don't want to just splatter the spaghetti on the wall. You have to pick and choose, but you better look like you're one of those rogue guys out there doing the next cool thing. You don't have to totally go into it, but you better do something if you're construction, trade association, You got to at least play the game.
No, I think these were all really